That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. All right, today we are taking a look at a product I have seen advertised but never really trusted, and that is these little solder seal wire connectors. Now, I'm in the middle of replacing the radio in the 450 here behind me. It came with the original 2002 factory tape deck in it, and I am a huge fan of factory radios. I think they're laid out really well. I think they look really good in the vehicle, but this one doesn't work. The volume knob, sometimes it just turns the radio off, sometimes it turns it all the way up. You really can't set it where you want it. So I looked around and I found the most factory aftermarket radio I could find, and that is this Jensen heavy duty radio. Now the radio we're putting in, this thing is meant for like tractors and over-the-road semi-trucks and things like that. It's dust-proof, water-resistant. And the thing I like the most about it is, compared to a lot of aftermarket radios, this one has really big factory-style buttons. It's got a really big, really simple display, and everything is easy to access and easy to see. I don't want a ton of features in a radio. I don't want a bunch of dancing screens or any of that crap. I just want something simple that works. And these Jensen heavy-duty radios are extremely heavy-duty, but they're also pretty expensive. If you want to buy one of these radios new, it's going to cost you almost $300. I found this one on eBay for way, way less than that, so once we get everything put together, we're just going to have to hope it actually works, which brings us to putting everything together. Now, I've already got the dash disassembled. As you can see, the old radio is out, the new radio is ready to go in. The only thing left to do is connect our wiring. Now, to connect our wiring, we have the radio pigtail here, and then we have the truck adapter pigtail here. And if we put these two together, it adds like a foot of wire. So I'm actually going to shorten both of these. Typically, I'm a crimp and heat shrink kind of person for connectors like this. A lot of guys like to solder. I prefer that hard mechanical connection. And honestly, a lot of the times when I'm working on something, I don't have electricity nearby. I don't have the ability to heat up a soldering iron. So I end up crimping it, heat shrinking over it, and that typically works really well for me. Show you guys these wire strippers I bought. These are an automatic stripper, and I bought these off a tool truck a long time ago, and I love them because I can do stuff like that. If you're stripping wire that's all the same diameter, especially if it's not very big like this is, you can get 2, 3, 4 wires in one crimp like that, and then strip most of them. It missed the end one, but it does a really good job. I've seen a few different versions of these from other companies. I've bought a couple of cheap ones and they did not work well at all. These are a Tool Aid brand. I bought these off an independent tool truck probably 15 years ago, and I've never seen them since. At least not this brand. But I'll look around. If I can find these from either this company or another quality company, I'll put a link to those down in the description as well. The only downside to these crimpers is if you're in a really tight area, because they do have this little nose at the end there, they may not be able to get into every single spot. I have run into that a couple of times, but by and large, these are awesome. Now, these connectors here, I've never used these. I bought these on Amazon because I've been curious about them for a long time, and a friend of mine actually bought these, and he used them wiring up the work lights in his F-250 work truck, and he really likes them. So I trust his opinion. We're going to take a look at them and see how well they work or don't. I'm not sure if that solder is melting entirely perfectly or not, but it looks pretty okay, so we're going to go with it. Famous last words, right? I'm sure it'll be fine, unless it isn't, in which case we'll get to do this again. Well, I'll get to do this again. You'll get to watch. I could have stripped a few of these back a little bit further. I did not get them as even as I really would have liked to, but that's okay. It's still gonna work. That one worked much better. I like that a lot. Maybe the first one was just operator error. Yeah, that red one, I like that red one a lot better. And now that I'm looking at the black one a little more cooled, it looks pretty okay. I mean, that could have been worse. So all of the wires from the radio side are connected. Now the truck is set up for some options that this particular radio doesn't have. That's why we have these extra wires. So I'm just gonna trim these down to where there's not bare ends sticking out and then throw a little heat shrink or some other kind of insulation over them just to cover that up. I'm sure a lot of people would say it's not entirely necessary to heat shrink these connections after I've trimmed them off like this. And you're right, it's not absolutely necessary, but what I have found is if you get into the habit of taking care of the little things like this when they're right in front of you, they never come back to bite you. And these little things, you know, it's that one errant wire that 5 years from now will rub into something and short out and blow a fuse and cause a problem that doesn't make any sense at all, and this could prevent it. So we got our radio, we got our harness. Let's start connecting things together and see what happens. Plug it into the truck. Plug it into the antenna connection. Plug it into the radio. There we go. Plug in the antenna. I shouldn't let this hang like that, I know. And I'm not gonna fully install this, I'm just gonna sit it here to kind of support itself because I forgot to bring the truck keys out here. Oops. Okay, let's turn the power on. That's not a good sign. That's not a good sign at all. Okay. All right, it's the next day and I'm pretty sure I figured out what's going on with this radio and we're gonna be able to fix it. When we come down here to the back of the radio, if you look over here on the right at the power section, we're not worried about the speaker wires, but just the power wires. You see it shows a red, black, and a yellow. Yellow is battery positive all the time. That's what keeps your clock alive and other things. Black is ground, and then red is 12-volt switched. This is why the radio turns on and off when you turn the key on and off. And if we look at our little diagram here, you can see we should have one wire here on B7. That's the third one from the left. Another wire here on B5. That's the far left one. And then the yellow wire should be right underneath B5 at B4. Now when we come over here to the plug that came with our radio, you can see we've got the two tabs facing the right, just like the diagram, and we have a red wire at B7, which is correct, and we have a black wire at B5, which is correct. But if you look at B4, which is right underneath that black wire, there's nothing there. So in a perfect world, I would be able to buy another Jensen radio plug that would already have the yellow wire installed right here, and we would just, you know, connect it to this Ford adapter and throw this one out, but I couldn't find one local and I really want to get this done and get the dash put back together. So what I did is I bought some of these crimp-on female spade connectors, and this is the right size to fit on the pin terminal in the back of the radio. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this connector to the yellow wire in our Ford adapter that we capped off a minute ago. And then we're going to plug the plug into the radio, and then I'm just going to plug this connector through the back of the plug onto the pin. That should work. If it doesn't, I'll have to order a new harness, but I think we're going to be able to make the radio function just like this. Okay, before we do anything else or we put this all the way in the dash, we're going to go ahead and turn the key on and see if this was actually the resolution we were looking for, or if I am going to have to order another harness. Hey, look at that. It comes on. It's even got a nice blue-ish kind of gray screen, and it doesn't have 11 million dancing lights and features and functions, and it even seems to work, or at least it picks up static because I haven't connected the antenna connection yet. So let's do that. Take our little orange wire, plug it into the antenna plug from the truck. Come on, plug in with one hand. Got it. And now I can't turn it back up and let you hear it because that would be copyrighted music from the radio and YouTube would demonetize me. All right, so what have we learned today? For one, don't assume the accessories that come with whatever you buy, especially if you buy it used like I did this radio. Don't assume that's the absolute right accessory for that exact model of product, whatever it is, you know. We could have sent this radio back thinking it didn't work, but spending a couple of minutes looking at the wiring and kind of doing a little really basic troubleshooting ended up with a perfectly functional radio in the truck that works exactly the way I want it to. So take a couple of extra minutes when things don't go right, do a little research. It may be an easier fix than you think it is. Two, I really like these little Kuject wiring connectors. They do a good job. The heat shrink seems to seal really well, and it grabs really quickly. When you're trying to hold two wires together and hold the joint in place and hold a heat gun, you need 3 or 4 hands pretty quick. The fact that they seal onto those wires as fast as they do makes that a lot easier. The solder seal looks pretty good. Time will tell how it holds up, but I have high expectations, honestly. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see how they hold up, because I'm going to use the rest of this container. We've got a couple of lighting projects coming up, not only on this truck here behind me, but on a couple of others also. So I'm going to bring you guys along for that. I'll put an Amazon link to these down in the description if you want to check them out. It is an affiliate link if you buy these or anything else through that link. Amazon sends the channel a small percentage, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. So it's a way you can help support the channel without spending anything out of pocket. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and more later. Am I supposed to throw that? All right, let's go throw this.